I feel good, even though I shouldn't. I'm chilling so hard, couldn't tell you where the hood is. I'm looking like $1,000,000, sucker.
Welcome to This Week in Music. My name's Ian Rogers, and we are here at historic Ocean Way Studios, right here on Music Row in Nashville. You can hear the music happening above us because we are in a recording studio at the moment where there are multiple recording sessions going on as we tape these interviews. So thanks for joining us, and thank you to Andre Gaccetta. Andre is a VP at G7 Marketing and Entertainment, and they are an ad agency who pulls together bands and brands among other things. And I wanted to continue the conversation on the show about the connection between brands and bands. You may have seen the episode a few weeks ago with Wendy Clark from Coca-Cola and Mark Ronson, where we talked about the campaign that they have going on around the Olympics. And Andre has some incredible things going on right here in Nashville with their, with brands and bands in the country market. So I want to talk to you, Andre, about that. Thank you for joining us.
Man, my pleasure. Glad to be here.
How did you get into this? What was your path getting to the job that you have now?
Well, I was a sport management major at Bowling Green State University.
Right.
And from there, I started working for the Cincinnati Reds in Major League Baseball, where I got a chance to. I call music marketing is the same as sports marketing. It's entertainment marketing, right? There's always an audience. There's a passionate audience, and they like to learn about the intricacies of what's happening behind the scenes in music as much as they do baseball.
Right.
So I kind of enjoyed that as a platform for my career. And from there I worked in the sponsorship research field for a bit. And why that was important was because a lot of brands like Visa or Kodak or whomever it was, back in the day wanted to know what kind of bang for the buck they were getting by sponsoring NASCAR or the PGA or the Olympics.
So I'm spending my dollars. Is it working? Is that effectively the question?
Pretty much, yeah. And so, that kind of research work in this field gave me a foundation for really understanding what's motivating brands and what kind of metrics do they need to evaluate how far their dollars are getting them. Consideration set. Are we on the consideration set?
What does that mean?
Consideration set is, if you go to the grocery store and you're looking at 5 different kinds of peanut butter, right? Why are you picking Skippy over Peter Pan? That's the consideration set. Right. So how do you get on the consideration set? How do I make sure that my music, my product, my services, at least in the consideration set? Because once you're there, then the chances of being picked are higher than not being on the consideration set.
How do you measure that? So if you're in the sponsorship measurement business, how do you know that something is or isn't on the consideration set for a consumer? Where does that data come from?
Well, I would say that like what you guys do, right, with Topspin. You can release 10 new albums, 10 new singles a week in the country genre. And you would have metrics to say, well, this single by Jason Aldean performed exceptionally well compared to. The same thing happens at retail. When you go to the grocery store, there's all kinds of metrics and digital data that can indicate how well Peter Pan is doing versus Skippy.
And how do you tie that back to the marketing then? How do you know that you got put on the consideration set because of that campaign that you ran?
That's really difficult.
It's magic, right?
There is a little bit of magic. There are some clients that we work with that have very definitive metrics. So let's say you're working for an insurance company and it's a music play. You can see how many leads were captured and were funneled down to agents, and then how many times the agents were able to turn those into real customers. Right.
So in that case, you've got some marketing. The marketing, they click from the marketing right into the flow where I'm signing up for insurance, and that's obviously very measurable. But when it's a brand campaign, that's a lot harder, right?
Yeah, if you look at the marketing mix, and there's certain campaigns where a client says, I just want awareness, or other clients say, I want awareness, and I want interest, and I want engagement. The insurance piece is awareness, interest, and engagement. The awareness is a fishnet. That's where you buy CBS radio or CBS television, and that's where you get the major eyeballs. It's the interest and engagement that becomes infinitely interesting.
Right. And just quickly for us, how would you go about measuring each of those things, right? So you tell me them again. You have interest in engagement. So your awareness, interest in engagement. Is awareness measurable?
Awareness is measurable because I can buy, if I'm marketing a new album and I work for a label, I could say I'm going to spend $10,000 across the Clear Channel network, and that advertisement is going to be a pre-recorded 30-second or 60-second spot, and it's going to get me X amount of whatever, eyeballs, ears, whatever you want to call it. So that is highly measurable. Engagement would be, okay, in that advertisement, it had a call to action, and it said, go to jasonaldean.com to hear the latest snippet of our latest, greatest single.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you'll see a spike online. You're saying, wow, this advertising is working because now I'm starting to see a little bit more traffic than we were seeing last week at this same given time.
Yeah.
What's different? Well, the difference is what we're doing in the marketplace.
Right.
Engagement is, that's interest. Engagement is, I've heard it, and then immediately there's a call to action that says, you're hearing it, do you like it? We have a special package for you. Buy this, bonus CD and get a bonus DVD or whatever it may be, and that's how you're turning that into.
You can see that traffic come in, especially if you're doing something like putting it directly on the radio station website, and you can compare how one station performs against another, etc. So how did you go then from take the next step to in your career? We kind of paused there. What was next?
Okay, so it's kind of interesting. I've always loved music, and so at a very young age, I was 24, and I thought that I knew it all, like most 24-year-olds, and I decided that I could do this business on my own. So I started my own company with basically I was living in New York City and had a couple credit cards, and that was all the funding that I had. And I went out and I started selling kind of event marketing services. So my first campaign was I had a client which was MCI, and they were in the telecommunications business, and they were really trying to target the Latin American Hispanic demographic. So we packaged up something called the Hispanic Festival Series, and so we took them in a little exhibit and we went to the top Hispanic festivals across the country. And what I realized early on was that the festivals that were most successful were the festivals that had big main stage entertainment, and that was driving attendance, and that was really a pure passion point. So I said to myself, wow, instead of next year selling Hispanic festivals in just a little exhibit, why don't I really connect this client with what the fans are and what this audience is really passionate about, and that's the music. So I started hanging out backstage, talking to bands, talking to labels, talking to managers, and saying, hey, what if we just kind of start doing some deals with you and my client? And a business was born out of that. And all of a sudden, I'm doing all of these MCI Presents Latin music programs. And from there, I had basically had my own business. We had started, we were rolling, and I moved back to Dayton, Ohio, where I was born and raised, because it didn't really matter where I was at the time, low overhead. And next thing that happened to me was I started a family and had real expenses and real responsibilities, and I was wearing lots of hats, and I was interested in moving beyond Latin music and maybe getting involved in artist management. And all of a sudden, this big global agency called George P. Johnson came knocking on the door and said, we like what you're doing. That's pretty interesting to us, and we have a cadre of very huge Fortune 100 brands that could use that kind of service. And it was an easy decision for me. It was, a boutique shop doing small deals to playing in the big leagues right away, and that was 10 years ago. And now I'm kind of running my own thing.
Is that what brought you to Nashville? Was that a Nashville move initially?
The story behind me coming to Nashville was a couple of things. The George P. Johnson Company is headquartered in Detroit, and very cold there. And my wife and I were ready to get south. And one of the benefits of moving to Detroit was the fact that we could start doing automotive work. So I packaged up a program called the Jeep Presents Tim McGraw Faith Hill Soul to Soul Tour. and it was my first real big deal in the space, and Jeep loved it. It was natural and organic for Tim and Faith. That's a whole nother conversation. And I was coming down to Nashville a lot, and I was actually offered by Tim's manager at the time, Scott Simon, an opportunity to come down here and work with him and be in the management business. And I said, yes, let's do it. I'm there. And I basically, put in my resignation, tendered my resignation with this big agency that I was working for, and I was going to be in the artist management business. And fortunately for me, the agency said, if you want to move to Nashville, do it. And tell us what else you want to do. And I said, well, I want to move to Nashville. I want to build a bigger team. I want to take this guy with me, and I think we can do some really great things. And they said yes to everything. So
How long ago was that?
This was 4 years ago.
So you picked up your family, moved to Nashville, opened effectively there's the first George P. Johnson office in Nashville?
Yes.
Nashville?
Yeah.
Okay, and how's it gone? How many people in the last 4 years? How big are you, and how's it going?
Well, it's going well. We moved down here under the George P. Johnson name, and now it's gone so well that we've kind of created our own brand, G7 Entertainment Marketing, which is a sister company to George P. Johnson and the Project Worldwide network of companies. And we started with 2 people, me and another guy that came down with me, and my partner. And now we're at 10 people, and we're doing lots of big deals. We've won 3 Billboard awards for being the putting out the best kind of music marketing band programs in the past 6 years. So we've won 3, and we're doing some awesome work.
What are those? Tell us about some of those campaigns. Some of the campaigns you're most proud of.
Well, gosh, the one that has been most meaningful to me was our project with Zac Brown Band and Ram Trucks. And that was a program called Letters for Lyrics. And basically the concept was where we work with Zac. Zac has his own label, Southern Ground Records. And he had just signed a bunch of artists and produced a bunch of amazing music. And Zac says to us, really what I want to do is I want to print 1 million CDs. And I want to give these CDs out. And I need a sponsor to help me do that. And so that was a pretty monumental task to think about, how do we wrap our arms around that. So that's what the artist wanted. What Ram Truck wanted was an affiliation with country music fans, and to do so organically and to do so in a meaningful way. So you fast forward, and we came up with this concept called Letters for Lyrics, partnered with CAA to kind of put the package together. And the idea was we printed up 1,000 of these compilation CDs featuring the Zac Brown Band and all of his label mates.
1,000 or 1 million?
1 million. I'm sorry, 1 million. Did I say 1,000?
You said 1,000. You
A
said
million.
1 million the first time.
1 million.
1,000.
Yeah, we printed up 1 million of these things, and it was kind of a co-branded package. And the call to consumers was basically, write a letter to a soldier who's deployed overseas in Iraq and Afghanistan. Write a letter. That's all we're asking you to do, to say, be safe, come home safe, we're thinking about you, thank you, whatever you want to say. Take that letter and turn it into any of the 2,000 Ram Truck dealerships across the country, or take it to a Zac Brown Band concert, and we'll give you the CD in exchange, and we'll send the letter overseas. And we did about 450-something thousand of these letters. We had a big media campaign, and we utilized the Grammy-nominated track Free as a bed of the campaign. So you heard it in radio, you heard it in television, and it was just a really cool, meaningful program that had lots of other kind of secondary and tertiary tactics, but overall very successful.
And what happened to the other 1 million CDs? I mean, was that, and how was that perceived? I mean, at least the artist wanted to give away 1 million, and you said 450,000. What's in the delta there?
Well, the delta was that maybe we were a little too ambitious from the get-go,
Sure.
but we had some left over, and those were essentially utilized at Zac Brown Band concerts, given away to fans.
Yeah, and so when you're looking at one of these campaigns, where does it start? Does it start with the band, or does it start with the brand? Does it start with an idea from you guys? How do these things begin?
You know, that's a great question, and because of our success, we've had a lot of artists and artist managers come to us and say, "Hey, I've got a tour going out, or I've got some new music. Can you shop this for us?" And 9 times out of 10, we're not really interested in approaching it from that angle. In most cases, because we're a big agency and we have all of these sister agencies who have long-standing relationships with different brands, what we try to do is to first understand what the pain points are for the brands. Do they have a new product coming out? Is there a launch? Are they trying to generate awareness, interest, engagement, whatever? And understand what the brands are looking for. And if we do that first, then we can start ideating around music-related or entertainment-related ideas, tactics, strategies, programs. Usually our ideation must include, as a discipline, all elements of the marketing mix. So it's face-to-face engagement, it's online engagement, it's PR, it's advertising, it's all of that. And if we can kind of check the box on a really great idea that delivers all elements of the marketing mix and then present those back to the brand and say, these bands or this entertainment property is a good fit for this idea, that's where the magic starts to happen.
Gotcha. And when you're doing that, I mean, it's interesting. Obviously, the supply and demand is there's a large supply of artists out there and artists are more comfortable being associated with brands than ever. But we'll come back to that.
Yeah.
But there's a limited set of brands out there. Where does G7 fit in? If GPJ has a large relationship with a brand, where does G7 fit? Is it they're doing a large number of campaigns across George P. Johnson, and then you guys end up getting an entertainment component of that, or is it are you guys sourcing the brands yourselves at G7?
Usually the brand relationships already exist with George P. Johnson or any of our Project Worldwide sister companies like Juxt or SpinFX or Partners in Napier. Like just this morning, Partners in Napier is like a boutique, medium-sized advertising agency, and they've got clients like Green Mountain Coffee and Kodak and a whole bunch of others. So, we'll have a conversation with them that is very similar to what I've just outlined for you, and it's them saying, "Hey, this brand is coming up with a new brand strategy." And we think entertainment has a good play with this kind of initiative, this kind of thinking. So we just go to work, man. We just come up with a bunch of ideas and throw them against the wall, and sometimes they stick and sometimes they don't. Like this morning, we presented film ideas, we presented television ideas, we presented music ideas, a whole bunch of different things. If we're doing a good job, the ideas are resonating in popular culture. So in music, it's really important for us to not make the brand-band exchange all about money. It's important that we understand what the artist's product life cycles are, and if we're going to team up with an artist, we want to do so in an organic way. Make sure there's a good connection so the artists are using the product or they like the service or whatever that may be. We have to start there. And then the second piece is, hey, this artist has a new cut, it's coming out, it's being released, a new album, and we try to sync up with the timing. So if we're going to do a brand campaign, hopefully in an advertising element, that music will be used as a bed of music in a commercial, or we're featuring it in all of our digital program tactics.
Right.
It's like what we're doing with Topspin. You and your team have done an amazing job helping us create widgets for a RAM project. And as a part of this widget, right, you can go to any of our 80+ country radio stations that the widget lives on, and you will see a couple of things. You'll see a custom video that we created, and you'll be able to stream that. And in that video, you'll hear a bed of music that is the most current, relevant single that the artist has just released. You'll also have an opportunity to participate in a sweepstakes. You'll also have an opportunity to get a free download. And so that's a part of the marketing mix, right? That's the digital angle, that's the PR angle, and then we're kind of migrating that into a radio buy where live liners and 30-second spots are driving engagement at the digital level.
And that was kind of where I wanted to go next on the timing. Thank you for the compliment on Topspin. we've talked about how these campaigns get crafted and kind of ideas and go from being just ideas to being kind of instantiated. Then they've got to get distribution, and you've talked about the radio websites and whatnot. But there's other things. When I used to run Yahoo Music, and we did a lot of campaigns with ad agencies and brands, things like Nissan Live Sets and Pepsi Smash, and the Yahoo's got a big Ram Country component running now.
Yes.
How involved are you guys in getting those deals with the places where the eyeballs are?
Well, I can just give you a case in point for Ram.
Sure.
So Ram is invested in Yahoo Ram Country, and it's a great platform. This guy's doing amazing work. It's a lot of exclusive editorial content that they're writing. The creative treatments are out there capturing this awesome content. And so knowing that that is what we would call, from our perspective, an asset that lives. So if I'm out doing a bunch of other country music marketing initiatives for the Ram brand, I want to make sure that wherever possible, we're tapping into that asset that exists, in hopes that Yahoo Ram Country will look at that and say, wow, you're doing that deal with Pickler and you're going to do a shoot. Let's go ahead and get some cuts from that shoot and let's incorporate. So when I go and make my artist ask, right, the artists are looking at this and saying, wow, you got Yahoo Ram Country, you got a deal with CBS Radio, and this is really good for everybody, right?
And so in those cases, though, you mentioned the widget on the radio station websites. How is that done? How is it decided? These are the things that G7. This is sort of the distribution that G7 is responsible for versus these are the buys that we've done separately with CBS or Yahoo, et cetera.
Yeah. Well, as you well know, radio and music, the music community and artists and labels are also very sensitive about what radio stations you do business with, right? Because if you go into a certain market and there's competing radio stations and you place a buy with one around a certain artist initiative, even though it's coming from the brand, but don't place that buy with the other, that could literally prohibit the artist in which you're partnering with from getting a #1 single.
That's pretty interesting, because you've got some sensitivities to worry about there, where it's not necessarily the brand's sensitivity, but now this is you worrying about the artist's sensitivity, where you spend the brand's money.
That's exactly right, and that's why I believe that we're as good as we are. We have to go into all of these conversations understanding the important key driving factors for all parties involved, and that's the brand and what they need to do, and it's the artists and making sure that you understand how you need to navigate through their world. Because once you can demonstrate that, then that's where you build trust. And it's oil and vinegar, because artists are used to getting everything they want when they want it, and so are brands.
Yeah.
And you have to get them sitting at a table and understanding each other's world so you can move the ball forward.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. Let me ask you this. I'm curious what it's like working with these artists. I think there's been a huge mind shift in the past 10 years. I worked a long time with the Beastie Boys, and in one of their lyrics they say something very directly about "you'll never see me in an advertisement," and they've stuck to that. But at the same time, what I see is, we've worked with Paul McCartney and American Express. You've seen a lot of artists who might not have done something with a brand previously, tying up with brands. How has that been in your? Are you seeing a similar thing, or do you ever sort of have an artist in mind and go after them and find out that they're not interested in either being involved with brands, period, or being involved with a particular brand that you're bringing to them?
It happens every day. For every opportunity that we bring to an artist, there's, probably 1 out of or 2 out of every, I don't know. basically, there needs to be an organic connection, and the artist has to feel like it's a mutually beneficial scenario.
How do you pitch it? So if when you're approaching an artist and saying, "Hey, I want you to help me sell razor blades," what's the how do you position it?
Well, I think the most important thing that we have done in the past, and not to say that this is going to change, we typically try not to ask the artist to be pitch people. Hey, this is Joe Blow product, and it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. That typically doesn't work. What we try to do is find a real kind of organic, meaningful, creative way to make that alignment work. So we did a deal with Keith Urban and Casey Masterpiece in Kingsford Charcoal, right? And the creative for the photo video shoot was just, the band hanging out backstage with the tour bus in the background and some grilling going on, and brought some instruments to the photo video shoot, and the guys just are kind of hanging out, playing, doing what they do. And food is a part of it, and they were grilling out. It's an outdoor thing, it's a summer thing, it's fun. Music is a soundtrack of our lives. Music is a soundtrack of a barbecue party. Turn up the music, fire up the grill. That's the thematic that we would approach with that particular campaign. So it has to kind of fit with what the brand is trying to accomplish. In their marketing and their messaging and the lifestyle that they're trying to create around their brand, and it has to fit with the music and the artist. And sometimes it just doesn't work. Sometimes artists are like, you know what, man, I really appreciate you bringing us the offer. It's really cool. Keep them coming. But for this product and this brand, none of us drink it. None of us like it. None of us will ever use it, and it's fake. And it's not right for us. And we're like, thanks for telling us that, because we wouldn't want that either, nor would our brand.
Right. We're going to wrap up in a second so we can get you back to work. I just have a couple more questions for you. One is, we talked about why you ended up in Nashville as a personal choice, but why, you're primarily working with country artists, and how you think that's different from working with artists in our country?
Well, I would say if you look at the body of our work, I would say the majority has been country, but we're launching a project. We've done John Mayer. We're launching a project right now with Jay Sean and Jewel and Al City. So we're hoping to do more outside of that genre. We've done gospel. So I would say that country music has been good to us because it's brand friendly, it's brand friendly because if you think about country music, it's lyric based. It's about time proven truths of life, hard work, good ethics, family. I can be driving down the road with my family and turn on any country radio station and not have to worry about turning the dial. And that for brands is kind of safe territory.
Gotcha. It makes a lot of sense. Well, thanks very much. I have one final question for you. I always like to ask people at the end what they're listening to, and if they have a recommendation for the audience. Anything in particular that you're that you're rocking these days that you want to encourage other people to listen to as well?
A lot of music gets sent to me on a regular basis, and I try to get around to most of it. I was recently given a CD that I think you were actually given. Did you listen to Brian? I have not listened to it. I don't have a CD player in my hotel room, so I have not listened to it yet. Okay, so check this out. I don't think the album has been released yet, but Brian Clark and the New Players. The album is called Southern Intermission, and I listened to it, and the dude rocks. It's awesome. It is really awesome. Right, it's epic.
Bryan Clark.
Yes.
All right, so people should look that up.
It's awesome.
Thanks, Andre. Really appreciate you spending the time.
Thank you.
And I'll see you soon.
Okay, brother. Right, thanks, bye. Man.
Thanks, everybody, for watching This Week in Music, and we'll see you next week.
I feel good, even though I shouldn't. I'm chilling so hard, couldn't tell you where the hood is. I'm looking like $1 million, sucker.